For the longest time, building software has been about one thing, writing code, line by painstaking line. But what if? What if that's all about to change? What if your job wasn't just about being a coder anymore, but more like a director of a whole AI development team? Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today. We're looking at Google Antigravity, a tool that's not just tweaking the process, it's completely rewriting the job description.
All right, so here's our game plan. First up, we're going to talk about the stuff that drives every developer crazy, what we're calling the gravity that holds you down. Then we'll introduce Google Antigravity and see how it's supposed to be the solution. We'll break down its key parts, watch it build an entire app from scratch super fast, and wrap up by talking about what this all means for how we'll work in the future. Sound good? Let's get into it.
Okay, so before we get to the cool part, the liftoff, we really need to talk about what's holding us on the ground. We have to understand gravity, right? And in the world of software development, gravity is all that daily grind stuff. The little frustrations, the bottlenecks that just absolutely zap your productivity and your creativity. So let's dig into what those actually are.
I mean, just think about it. You've had those days, right? You're totally in the zone, deep in a state of flow, cracking some really complex problem. And then, ping, a Slack message, or a last-minute bug report, or the build breaks. Suddenly you're yanked out of it. And they say that one little interruption can cost you, like 20 minutes of focus just to get back? That's just one of the things we're fighting against every single day.
Yeah, it feels like you're fighting a battle on so many different fronts. Over here, you've got the constant context switching, your brain having to jump from building a cool new feature to stamping out an urgent bug fix. Then there's the mind-numbing repetition of clicking through your own UI to test things. And now with AI in the mix, we've got this whole new headache. That frustrating cycle of prompting, getting something that's 90% there, and then reprompting over and over just to polish that last 10%. Or worse, cleaning up what people are calling AI slop when you don't specify things perfectly. This is the gravity. This is what slows everything down.
So, okay, if that's the gravity, what's the rocket ship? Well, the folks over at Google DeepMind decided their answer wasn't just to build a slightly better hammer. No, they're aiming for a fundamental shift. They're basically rethinking the entire development process from the ground up for an era that's all about AI.
And that brings us to this, Google Antigravity. Now, look, don't make the mistake of thinking this is just another code editor. That would be like calling a smartphone just a phone. It's so much more. They're calling it an Agentic development home base. Think of it like a unified command center, where your editor, a whole team of AI agents, and even a browser all live and work together in perfect harmony.
And this quote right here, it absolutely nails the core idea. Your role is about to change big time. You're not the one on the assembly line anymore, cranking out every single line of code. Nope. You get elevated. You become the architect, the director, the manager. You're the one guiding this team of super capable AI agents who are doing all the tedious grunt work for you.
Okay, so it sounds cool to be a manager of agents, but what does that actually look like? Let's peek under the hood and see the tools inside this home base that actually make it all happen.
So Antigravity is basically built around three main areas, and they're all tightly woven together. First, you've got the Agent Manager. That's like your mission control, your high-level dashboard. Then, of course, you have the editor, for those times you need to roll up your sleeves and get your hands dirty in the code. And then, and this is a huge one, there's an integrated browser that the agents can actually control themselves to test the features they just built. It's a completely closed loop.
So, how in the world do you actually collaborate with an AI agent? Well, the secret sauce here is what Antigravity calls artifacts. Just think of it like a super clear paper trail for everything that happens. Before an agent even writes a single line of code, it gives you an implementation plan. You have to approve it. While it's working, you can see its to-do list in real time. And when it's finished, it gives you a full walkthrough report. It's this transparency that turns you from someone just shouting prompts into a real manager.
And this just completely changes the game for the feedback loop. The old way, let's be honest, it was kind of prompt and pray. You'd ask for something and just cross your fingers that the AI understood you. But the new way, with these artifacts, it's all about structured collaboration. You look at a plan, you leave comments on it just like you would in a Google Doc, and then you give it the green light. It's this simple, deliberate step that's the key to getting rid of that AI slop and finally cracking that annoying last 10% problem.
All right. Enough with the theory, that all sounds great, but let's see this thing in action. We're actually going to watch Antigravity build a whole flight tracker web app, completely from scratch.
We're talking from one single prompt to a working app in a matter of minutes. Let's do it.
And check this out. It all kicks off with just one simple high-level goal. No giant spec doc, no crazy detailed instructions, just a clear request. Build me a flight lookup app with Next.js. That's it. The agent takes that and just goes.
And right away, you can see that process we were just talking about. First thing it does, it spits out that crucial implementation plan for the developer to look over. As soon as they give the thumbs up, boom, the agent sets up the whole project environment on its own and starts cranking out the core UI.
Okay, so the basic frame of the app is there, but an empty app is useless, right? It needs data, so the developer gives it a new task, like a manager would. Hey, go research the docs for this aviation API and figure out how to plug it in. Notice that. It's not even a coding task, it's a research task.
Okay, and this is where things get really, really wild. While one agent is off doing that API research, the developer just spins up a second agent and tells it to design a logo for the app. You can literally multi-thread your own brain, delegating completely different complex tasks to run at the same time. It's incredible.
Now check this out, because this is where one of the biggest time wasters in all of development just gets completely automated. After the agent builds a feature, it doesn't just throw the code over the wall. No, it opens up that built-in browser, and you can see its little mouse cursor moving around, clicking buttons, typing in forms, scrolling the page to prove that the code it just wrote actually works. Say goodbye to all that boring manual testing.
And what you get at the end of that test is the final artifact, that walkthrough report. So instead of you having to pull the branch, run the code, and test it all yourself, the agent just hands you a report with screen recordings as proof that it works. This means you can have 100% confidence when you hit that merge button. A process that used to take, what, an hour? Now it takes a minute.
All right, so we've seen the tool in action. Pretty cool, right? But let's zoom out. Let's think about what this really means for the day-to-day life of a developer. Because this isn't just a small change, it's a massive shift in where you spend your time and your brain power.
Just look at the difference here. The old way, that first bar, that's your life today, right? So much of your time is just buried in the nitty-gritty of writing code and manual testing, but with Antigravity, that part just shrinks way, way down. And all that time you get back. It gets moved over to the fun stuff, the high-level architecture, the actual creative problem solving.
So really, you can boil this whole new way of working down to 4 key ideas. First, you delegate. You run multiple agents at once to get way more done. Second, you direct. You're not just prompting, you're giving specific, actionable feedback on those artifacts. Third, you trust. You can trust the code quality because it's been automatically tested. And all of that leads to the last one. You get to focus. You can finally spend your time on the big, creative problems that really matter.
The whole point of this system is to get rid of all that friction, all that gravity we talked about at the very beginning. It's designed to let you and your big ideas finally achieve liftoff.
And that's Google Antigravity. It really is more than just a new tool, isn't it? It's a whole new philosophy for how we create software. It's challenging all of us to stop asking, okay, how am I going to build this? And to start asking a much, much cooler question. With all this power, what amazing, impossible thing am I going to build next? Thanks for coming along for the ride.